would he agree to come to Central or Southern Europe? And Smaev said yes, he'll do it.
For you Andrey Smaev fans who want to see him on the table, this is some good news if true. Let's listen to what Robert Baxter is saying about trying to basically recruit Smaev into EVW. Let's take a
I
look.
said, hey, is Smaev happen to be your? Do you sponsor this guy? I saw him with a shirt looked like fucked up. And he goes, yeah, we sponsor him. He's a great guy. I said, do you mind asking him if he will come to the EVW stage and pull for us? And he said, sure, I'm sure he will. So he called him up, and Smaev said yes. So all it took was just his sponsor, to ask him, and he was on. So he said, but I'd like to do it in Dubai, just a little more, Russian friendly, a little closer. And I said, great, we'll set something up in Dubai. But then with all the missiles and all the war efforts over there, I said, would he agree to come to Central or Southern Europe? And Smaev said yes, he'll do it.
I think that this is huge news if true. I mean, there's a ridiculous amount of hype behind Smaev, being that he's just a genetic mutant. He's absolutely viral on Instagram, on YouTube. He's a guy who's well known just for being a strength freak with ridiculously impressive lifts, and he just barely even looks human. He looks like some type of last evolution of a human or something. I mean, he looks absolutely insane. I think him competing against Brian Shaw or Leonidas would be absolutely insane. So you can tell Robert is already trying to hype things up for a potential Smaev match in the future. Whether it's going to be very soon or not, I guess is all up in the air, but to actually set that up would be huge. And he's already talking to Brian Shaw about this as a potential match if he beats Leonidas. But let's listen to Brian's response to that.
Let's say you win in Germany, Brian. Would you be excited to pull a guy like Smaev?
I only saw a couple of clips of him. I think it was him with Larry around. So I haven't, the truth be told, I haven't watched a lot of his.
Yeah, the clips with Larry where he, again, I just had showed this, where he just completely and easily neutralized and controlled Larry Wheels' wrist like nothing. And I know Larry Wheels has been out of the sport for a bit. This was 3 months ago, but Larry Wheels had gotten to a pretty impressive level before he ended up quitting the sport. I mean, he was going to some tournaments and getting wins on guys who are, top 10, top 15 super heavyweight North America. So Larry was really starting to get pretty good before he ended up, obviously falling off from the sport. But we saw how easily Smaev was neutralizing him. And in this little clip here, Smaev said he hadn't arm wrestled for about a year or so previous to this, when he pulled with Kirill Sarychev, where there's videos of him doing some training with Sarychev. And also, Robert had been asked a question on the podcast about Kirill Sarychev, if he will be at EVW, and Robert was basically saying he doesn't think he's at the same level as a guy like Smaev or Brian Shaw or Leonidas. Maybe he's just saying that to motivate him to take arm wrestling more serious, to where there's more hype behind him, but who knows?
I know, that he's a big guy, and he's done some, pretty crazy strength feats, which is awesome. I mean, it's cool to see that, right? But I think that what I would say is my main focus, and this is kind of how I've been answering everybody. My main focus is Leonidas.
Yep.
Let's go in and execute there, and then we can kind of see where the chips fall.
So Brian taking a completely measured approach, not overthinking, what the next match will be until he actually finishes this match, and seeing what happens. So very interesting stuff to get an update on potentially seeing Smaev in the future. I think that would bring in a ridiculous amount of pay-per-views, and just people would want to see that. I mean, me for sure, to see him on like the biggest arm wrestling stage would be epic. So let me know what you guys think, and hit like and subscribe for more content.